Buenas noches a todos. Bienvenidos. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy you all are here because we're going to share our space with someone who I've seen do marvelous work through the years. No es fácil ser mujer. It is not easy being a woman. And who are those brave ones that decide to go into politics? We must share space with them and understand why are they doing this. Because let me just tell you one thing. If you ask me, I will support 150%. Do I want to go into politics? Hell no. No, 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 no. So then, vamos a tener esto bien claro. This is why as women, and as people of color, we must understand what our power is. And sometimes our power doesn't sound like us or look like us, but it's still our power. Para mí es un placer. For me, it's a pleasure to have tonight Jillian Gilchrest, who I have had the opportunity to be in the trenches when it's 20 degrees, 10 degrees, shouting out that we have every right to exist and every right to use our voices and every right to be mothers and professionals and activists and do whatever the hell we want to do. And has not been lost on me that she has shown up in times when others didn't think we were big enough to show up. So it's not been lost on me, and I'm sure that many of you will feel the same way. And coming up to the screen with us, hi, Jill.
Hi, so good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. It looks like you're in your kitchen.
I'm in my dining room kitchen. It's one big
That's
deal.
awesome. And the reason why I say that is because most of us live in these spaces, right?
Yes.
Because we have all of these things we got to cover, all of these things we have to do constantly. Jill, you're not new to politics. No eres nueva en la política. You have worked really hard with a kind soul, but you're sharp. So let's not get it twisted, as some of my friends would say. You're very, very kind. You are going for a seat of someone who has been called an institution, John Larson. And I know John. But you have some really strong feelings, points, and also you're bringing on the maracas and saying change is needed. Jill, tell us, you're a social worker,
Yep.
which is, amazing. You've always worked on human rights. You've always been interested. Stop me anytime if I'm saying anything that's not correct. You've always been open to learning as well as to receiving what the community is feeling, hurting, aching about. Tell us, why would you want to go after a seat in Congress in a time where it feels like nothing is going right?
Well, because if we don't elect new people, how much farther is this going to go down? And I feel like we need to elect folks down to Congress who believe that things can be better, that government can do good by people. And I got into politics because I believe that public policy is a way to bring about positive change, to address social injustices, to help people achieve rights. And so I want to run for office and get down to Congress to make as much positive change as I can in the time that I have.
Tell us a little bit about, because those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting Jill like I have, under 20-degree weather, and the Women's March and us bouncing up and down trying to get ourselves warm. Tell us a little bit about your passion. I mean, what do you bring? What makes you get into politics? Let's not even go to Congress yet, because that's, like the next level for you. But when in your heart and in your soul, and at what time in your life do you say, you know what? I need to be part of the change?
So it all roots back. I've always been horrified that sexual assault is a thing that exists. And in college, I discovered that there were these places called sexual assault crisis centers. And so I started volunteering on the 24/7 hotline. I ended up doing my internship there. And then my family's kind of old school. I was the youngest of three. You don't go home after you graduate from college. You just go make it work. And so the only job available was as child advocate at that same sexual assault crisis center. And that was a life-changing position, an experience. I was only 22 years old with a BA in women's studies and just 30 hours of training. And I was the person that the Department of Children and Families was referring children to after having experienced this most horrible thing. Um, and that showed me I was not made for direct service. I'm very grateful for those who are. I
I feel the opposite. I'm with
okay.
you.
So, yeah, so I was more drawn to why am I the only person available for these kids? And while every experience was unique, poverty played a large role in creating barriers. And so I was drawn to policy. What I soon discovered was policy. I didn't even know. I just started Googling and found the UConn School of Social Work focus in policy practice.
Big
And
shout out for them.
yes, and that set me on a path to pursue public policy as a way to improve conditions.
So so you start with this pain, this ache.
Yeah.
I always say to people, you don't have to be hungry to know that hunger is bad.
Mm,
You don't have to be homeless to know that you don't want to be unsheltered. So some of these things, obviously you have a good heart. Otherwise it wouldn't phase you. As long as there's food on my table, then, there's food on my table.
yep.
And that's what I'm supposed to do. So when does this journey begin where you say, you know what, I really have to fight my way through and I have to get into policy? Because people don't realize, believe it or not, and people argue with me all the time, but I stand by this. Politics is still an unknown beast to a
Mm,
lot of people. So we hear politics, they're all the same. They
mm,
all want money. They think of us Latinos when, voting comes around. They always think that we're the aching, tooth that they have to fix.
mm,
They don't know who we are.
yep.
And not many politicians, and I'll say this freely, take time to know our communities
Mm.
and our multi-generational communities, right? And at what point do you say, I'm going to go all in? Because this is not something that, now you're talking about you, your family, your
Mhm.
children. You're talking about the community that knows you, the community that doesn't know you, the people who loved you, who will love you less once you decide what you want to run
Yep.
for or against. When does that happen?
So kind of there's two parts to it. I will admit that as soon as I started going into the legislative office building in Hartford and watching the elected officials debate, I thought to myself, well, I can do that. Like, if they can do that, I can do that. And my women's studies degree and education had already taught me that it oftentimes takes women being asked like 7 times to run for office. And I knew the importance of getting more women in positions of leadership. And so I had committed to myself at that age, like, I will do this at some point. If I'm going to be telling other women to do it, I'm going to need to lead by example and do it too. But timing is everything in politics. And so, fast forward, I was doing advocacy at the legislative office building. So I certainly couldn't serve in office while lobbying the legislature on social justice issues. And then Donald Trump got elected in 2016. And
Were you
I
surprised that he got elected?
horrified. I will admit when the Access Hollywood tapes came out, if people remember that, it's now so long ago. I pulled over my car and said, like, "Oh, thank God it's over." I truly thought there was no way this country would elect someone when he had admitted on tape that he had sexually assaulted women. But now we're so far from that, with the Epstein files, that seems ridiculous. But that was my thinking at the time, that there was no way he
Right.
would get elected. Um, and so he did. And that really clicked in me. What am I waiting for?
So let me bring you, all of you who either watching now, watching later when we do the cuts. I cried, Jillian. I cried because I didn't think it was possible
Hmm.
um, that we would say yes to destructive, abusive, disregard for women, for people from all walks of life, and to say out publicly, I can touch whatever I want in a woman's body, and she must be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if not, I can throw money at it. And this is what we've been doing for years. I mean, we've been fighting this for years. As a survivor myself,
Mm.
I thought, there's no way.
No.
My biggest surprise was the amount of Latinos and women who voted for him the first time. This time, I think if a stroke was available, they would have given me one. Because now we don't have the excuse not to know. Do you know, the first time you're thinking, okay, my brothers and sisters got lost
Yep.
somewhere. He won on one issues, you're anti-abortion, you're anti this, you think, God needs to be protected by whatever you call God, or you don't want this group, you don't want that group, so you want to hold on to your guns, whatever it was. So I thought, okay, people got lost on the one issue thing.
Yep.
We survived, but winning the second time, you can't. I just.
No, after you've known all of it and seen everything, all the destruction.
Yeah. And I bring all of that, and now you want to take a fight to Congress with one of the oldest legislators, and that has nothing to do with age. I'm talking about sitting in the seat, well known, well liked, all of those things. What do you think Jillian can bring to that seat that we should really be looking at? Because sometimes we have our minds are already been prepared and conditioned, and we've seen this over and over and over and over and over, right? You
Yep.
don't miss that cousin that doesn't come for Christmas, and into the Christmas it doesn't come, right?
Yeah.
um so what are you bringing to the table? What bothers you about what's happening in Congress right now? I'm sure the list is way too long for you and I to have a 1 hour conversation, but take us a little bit closer to what's really rattling the cage right now.
So, out of this second Trump election, I, of course, was horrified, as we just discussed, but I was also incredibly frustrated at the Democrats. Because while there are a few, there aren't many talking out and speaking about a vision of where do we go from here. And that's why I'm getting in, because I do believe that government can do good by people. But you can't just say it, you actually have to make change. And at the legislature, I know it's different, but I've been incredibly effective. And my skill sets, from being a social worker and trained in that field, I've always said this to folks, I don't know everything about everything. How could I? But the role to me as representative is going out and listening and learning from folks in the community.
Which I've seen you do very well.
Thank you. And then I have the skill set of translating that into public policy and developing an advocacy campaign, figuring out who we need to work with, who has to be at the table, what legislators have been working on this in the past, what's worked, what hasn't worked. So, all of that strategy, both inside Congress and outside Congress, that's what we need to do to actually move change. And that's what the people want and need. Folks are struggling with wealth and economic inequality. It's the largest it's ever been in this country.
Let's use that word, Jill, because I know you can break this down, so that I know this is not a challenge for
Yeah.
you at all. When we speak of wealth,
Mm,
people forget, what does that mean for people? A lot of people, just like you, me, and many others, I'm sure, we want to have a quality of life,
yes.
right? One that we don't have to worry every second about, who's doing this to the magic wand that does not include us,
Mm-hmm.
which is that 1%.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is not happening? Let's talk about the Democrats. One of my soft spots is for the working party families. Okay. And the reason why I've always had this soft spot for them is because I really believe that they're right there in the middle going, okay, let's remove ourselves from party lines and go directly to what the issue is. And I speak for that. I'm not saying you feel. What do you think needs to happen like yesterday? Because you also have Luke Bronin running for the seat,
Mm-hmm.
former mayor of Hartford. what do you think needs to happen and needs to happen quickly? Because I think most people are just like so bombarded with campaign after campaign that does not include them as a only a campaign slogan,
Yep.
and it drives me insane. And I just had this conversation with Wilson from Camilo's Communication, which is one of the best places I know to do advertising. And he's like, just because you speak my language, it doesn't mean you're communicating, and that's such an important thing.
Yep.
What do you want to see happen um, at that level?
So, two key things. One is the going out and listening and learning from folks. I think what we just saw in the municipal elections, where there were big wins for Democrats, in municipal elections, those are so local. The candidates are going out and actually speaking with people and
Mhm.
listening and learning from them. And that's what we need to do as folks who want to represent people. We need to understand what it is that you need from us to work on. And then the other piece is getting money out of politics. Now, that's odd because you're going to hear candidates need money. Like, we do need money to run a campaign. But what's
Right.
going on right now is that there's so many corporate interests. So these big companies and um, super PACs are paying candidates, so that's why we don't see much change, because Democrats too will only move the needle so far because they're beholden to the folks that pay to keep getting them elected.
So the scream that we hear from Ocasio constantly, because now it's become a scream, our dear sister Ocasio, it
Mhm.
is a real, real scream that as long as you're married to all of these entities, all of these corporations, it is very difficult and nearly impossible to move just that far.
Yes.
And it's what we have seen in the years. I mean, women and families and children, and they have been left in the back burner,
Yep.
and learn more, do more with less and less and less and less and less and less. This whole affordable housing thing drives me crazy anytime anybody brings it up. I'm
Yep.
like, you do not understand what affordable housing is.
Yeah.
Is not poverty. Is not the it's not the same thing. Do you know what I mean? We're not asking you to give us a $20 rent. That's not what we're asking. I want to be a homeowner just like you. I want to, I want to have the real headaches, like where's my kids' homework? I'm a grandmother already, but we just did homework with my little one.
Mhm.
So you going in there and telling people, Jillian, this is exciting for me, to be honest with you. I hadn't known that you were standing on this one, but how does campaign happen for you? Because you have Democrats, and we've been out there, Jillian.
Yep.
Okay, we have Democrats who have lots of powder rooms where they're going to walk into, and everybody's going to be really excited that they're there, blah, 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 shaking hands, whatever it is. But the issues will never be attended to.
Mhm.
Everybody will wear a suit, nobody will get to business.
Mm.
So, what do you see that we can do that is different in your campaign? Because you're going to need money. There's no question that you're going to need money. It's how do we get that money? What do we do?
So I keep saying my race, and I am a track person, is more a marathon than a sprint, because I need people to get to know me. And that's the disconnect that's been happening, right? Like, there is this lack of trust for obvious reasons. If you
Absolutely.
keep supporting folks who don't deliver and your life isn't getting any better, and yet they're telling you over and over, I'm the one who will deliver for you, of course they're going to lose trust. So, unfortunately, the political machine
Thank you.
sees fundraising numbers as your indicator of campaign viability. But I'm just kind of putting a pin in that, and I'm getting out there and meeting folks and speaking to them. And it's through those conversations that I hope I gain people's support and they contribute to the campaign. Because, yes, it does take money. There's a staff, you do have to pay people. And eventually we need to get on TV. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it is, to me, it's we're going at our pace. The other folks in the race have money that I don't come from. And so
Right.
that was never going to be my first month out. I was never going to have the amount of money some other folks have.
So I want to break this down for folks, because not all of us have been in that room where, this lingo makes any sense. So tú no puedes correr una campaña sin dinero. You can't run a campaign without money.
Mm-hmm.
But you have the beast, the other beast that you have to worry about. ¿Quién te controla? ¿Quién te controla por los fondos? So who's going to control you because they're going to give you XYZ money? Then there is this a very gray area where people assume that because you have money, you're the right politician.
Mm-hmm.
Because your campaign seems to have, or looks like they have more money, or do you have more money that you are the right candidate? I learned a long time ago by one of the women that I respect the most, a part of my mama, who's here, by the way. Te amo, mami. And Saimar and Lumar and all of that, is that is not the definitive for anything.
No.
At all.
No.
We need it, right? But who do we get in the seat that will do it, that won't dance like a monkey for the money?
Yep. And who won't sacrifice policy choices that can actually improve conditions for folks for the money?
So what do you say to those folks that are thinking right now, it's just a shit show, Jillian? I mean, where do we, this is just a shit show. Every time we turn on the TV, every time, I hear this ding on my phone, and, I'm up to, watching, little kids videos, and that makes me happy, kids, letting the pet go and going, whoops, sorry, dog is gone. How do we get people to feel like we want to get involved again? Because
Yeah.
I've had those days where I am telling you, if it wasn't you, I probably would have canceled this one
Yep.
because I'm exhausted and I have a bad cold and whatever. But I want people to see you. I want people to hear from you, Jillian. What sitting in Congress, what would be, because it's not magical. It's not like you're going to be the only person in Congress and we'll say, okay, Jillian está ahí, se acabó, we can all go to bed.
Yep.
Jillian is going to take care of everything. We have to continue that relationship. So what separates you? I know in my heart what does, but for those who are watching and watching this later, what separates you from the present seat, which is John Larson, and those who, like Luke Bronin and others, who are trying to also be part of that? What separates Jillian?
So, coming from movement work, I come from the women's movement. History shows us that progress is not linear. It goes like this. And it's incumbent on each of us to do as much as we can with the time we have here. So I have no interest in getting elected into that seat and just sitting back. I will use every single day I'm in office to push to make life better for folks, because that's to me what this is about. And then when I get to a point where I feel like I have done as much as I can, I will turn and say, who is next? Because these seats are not intended to be held forever. We need different perspectives and different folks who can continue the work. And that's what I bring that I don't think the other candidates do.
What do you say to the folks? And I want just people to hear you say it. And I use myself a lot as an example because I know there's lots of voices in my head that have been granted permission, literally say it for me. You are a mother. Your feet are on the ground. What do you say to the people who are saying, you know what? What does Congress even do?
Mm.
Because there is this myth, because we all want to be smart, that meeting where everybody's smart.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going, that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. There's many things that need to happen. So I see that a lot of the handshaking and the hugs and the kisses and all that kind of stuff. But you stop someone and you say, what's going to happen now with my taxes? Which is a common one, right? And you're thinking, well, it doesn't bother Lily because she's going to be okay. Well, yes, it bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
because you would be mine. And
Mhm.
I live in Bristol. So if you were to sit in Congress, you would be my congressperson.
Yep.
So what happens with my taxes? How do I feel about that? What happens? What is someone in Congress supposed to do? What are their responsibilities? Because this is a question nobody wants to answer. What
So
is your
yeah.
job?
So the
What,
job, as the way I see it, is again, I take that word representative because yes, you're serving in Congress, but you are a US representative. And so I represent the people of the first district, which means I need to be in the community, listening and learning from folks and hearing when you're saying, I don't want you spending my tax dollars on X, Y, or Z, or why aren't the schools improving? I'm paying my tax dollars. And then the job of the representative is to go down to Congress and to work with your colleagues in Congress to push for policy change. And doing that, you need to build relationships with folks. You need to understand what's worked and what hasn't worked. You also need to partner with folks from different advocacy organizations who will push for this change. And then a large part of it these days is communication. And I spent a lot of time at the legislature figuring out how best to speak about things so that I can connect, like, this is the policy that will get us to this solution in a concise way, because things can get very lost. And so that's incredibly important. And to bring people along with me, as well as, again, most importantly, what do you all want me to do? I am representing you.
one of my biggest concerns, and this is not my way of swaying anybody to vote for anybody, is I really want people to feel and think and feel.
Hmm.
Both of those. Your children, my children, our grandchildren. There is a fiber in our community that used to be yelled out loud. Not your babies, not my babies. Mamas, we could lock hands and be like, nope.
Mhm.
Now what I am seeing is so much ugliness out loud. It worries me that women have engaged in that echoing of brutality. It worries me that my brothers and sisters who are Latinos and driven by this fog, I feel like it's the discotheque and they started with those machines, you know,
Mhm.
um, and you can't see anything or figure out where your friends are or anything like that. I really am concerned about people not having the real conversations,
Mm.
like truly the real conversations. In my opinion, I don't want to see 30 more magnet schools. I
Mm.
want to see quality of education.
Mhm.
And you would say, well, your kids are grown, but I have grandchildren, and the children in my community deserve to have quality education. They don't deserve to be on a lottery in their own hometown
Mhm.
to see if they can go into a program.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want you to use my tax dollars to bus for people to have a multicultural experience.
Mhm.
No, that's not the way that I want our communities to exchange. I don't want me, after 57 years as an activist, to not be able to have a conversation with a damn politician because you got to talk to 30 people.
Yep.
I was just at an event this past weekend, and somebody said to me, call my office. And I said, I'm not calling your office. I have you right here.
Yeah, just talk to me.
I'm not calling your office. They were like, well, I said, that is what you meant. You see me small. But at the time where you
Mm.
have to move the groove at the grassroots level, guess whose phone number you're going to ring? Mine. So I'm not calling your office. You call mine.
Yep.
And it was painful. It was really painful. Because years ago, we could have had that. Jillian, I'll call your aide or whatever it is, or I'll leave your message. Now you can't have that anymore. Now people have gotten so arrogant.
Mm.
So they've fallen into what they so claim that they don't want to be. Now
Yep.
let's talk about women, us. I'm 57 years old, and I say this because I think it's really important for my younger sisters, my daughter's 36, to know that We love you. We care about you. We have not forgotten about you. I have two granddaughters, just to add more sauce for me to that. Our bodies, our bodies. I mean, not being able to get care,
Mm,
not being able to get any type of aid. Forget that we can't speak Spanish anymore
mm,
because people are terrified. The immigration issue, which has been weaponized, hunger has been weaponized,
yeah.
all of these things. As a woman, you are taking on all of these issues. I can see it in your face already. It pains you, which makes this is going to sound horrible, makes me comfortable because it makes
Mm,
you uncomfortable. Because you don't want a politician that is not uncomfortable
yeah.
with the pain of their fellow man. What do you think is happening for women
Mm,
right now that Jillian can really be an alarm and say, no, you don't get to do this? From money to access,
yep. Yes.
what happened to us?
Well, it's all of those things, and we as women still haven't we have not achieved equality. So we are still on that upward path, and we are
Yeah,
being
where's
kept.
my 25 cents?
Yeah. Yeah,
We're still
exactly,
missing the 25 cents.
and it's actually gone backward in
So
recent
what?
years.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's a large part too, is back to that, original reason I ran for the state legislature is again running for Congress. Who better to make change for women than a woman? And we lead differently.
We do.
We prioritize different issues, and we've been letting men do it for quite a long time. And here's where we're at. So I think electing more women into office who have these different perspectives, we're also really good at multitasking. You
Damn
talk,
it. Damn it.
I can do a million things in a day,
Yeah,
I
why am I
certainly
so tired? I don't understand.
And so maybe that again, that urgency of I need to get things done, I think that's lacking in some men, not all, when you haven't felt this desire to make it better for folks.
Why do you think we're so afraid in the political world to listen?
Mm,
Again, I've been to two events in this past month. Yeah, add into their October. And I have seen the fear of people. They don't want to engage in deep conversations. And I'm like, listen, you signed up for this. So
yeah,
when somebody has a conversation, when somebody wants to talk about a topic, it's okay to invite to have, a cup of coffee or whatever it is. But you can run from every activist that comes to you and says, listen, I am serving underground. I should not have to serve underground. I
yep,
should not have to find people to serve because they're too afraid to come out.
yep,
And when was the last time I saw you? I haven't seen you. Do you know what I mean? I
yep.
haven't seen you. So as a woman, how do you see? I know you love children. I mean, and I've seen you with my own eyes around children. How do you make changes at the Congress level? And you're going to go in there, and it's, oh, here comes another set of ovaries to fuck with us. That's
Yeah,
it's just like another of those. Okay, all right. They're gonna be touchy feely. They're gonna talk about everything out. Whatever. Yeah, we're hardcore hitting bitches as well. So
mhm.
you need to keep that in mind. I mean that respectfully, my sisters. So what do you think happens when somebody like Jillian goes into Congress? I mean, what's really rattling you up inside that you go, I just can't see it anymore. I just
Yep.
cannot see it.
Well, to your other question, when you said, why are people so afraid of listening? What popped in my head is they're afraid of being wrong.
Ooh,
And so I think folks are so concerned that they won't have the right thing to say that they don't want to have the conversation. And we need to be okay not knowing every answer. Like, you're not going to know every answer. But engaging in the dialogue gives you education and perspective that you need, that then informs the work. I will give again, like me in the legislature, I don't know what people thought of me coming in, but there were things written, and I am a feminist, and I was part of the
How
women's march.
dare you?
Yeah.
The hell.
But interestingly, I have very good relationships with men in the legislature on both sides of the aisle,
That's
because
wonderful.
we find common ground in who we are as people. And thank you for your kind words about children. Children connect us all. At our core, we all care so deeply about our children. And so that's a great piece that brings us together. Um, and just being someone who, again, can listen and have conversation and want to hear someone else's perspective. Um, I try to find, like, where can I validate something someone's saying, when I'm listening to them. And oftentimes you can,
Mhm.
and then deliver my own perspective. It doesn't constantly have to be this, I'm right, you're wrong.
Mm.
Um, you can, okay, that's your perspective, and then you give your perspective. And I think that's been missing for a long time.
Long time. Absolutely. With all the experience that you have, Jillian, you still come across, and I've seen you in many different settings and events, um, as kind, gentle, give you 10 seconds and people will figure out how smart you are.
Mm.
So don't don't let that soothing tone of voice that she has trick you into she don't know her shit. She knows her shit. Um, what can we do as community activists? And I say this because we have lost so many activists. They're like, Lily, I'm not going out there anymore. It doesn't matter. They forgot about the people. I'm exhausted. We're making pennies. Agencies are closing down. But there's 30 galas going on where people are paying $150, 200 dollars, and I'm like, okay, so where is all this money going to? um and we're not looking at really what's being um affected. We talk a good game, we do, we talk a good game, but for those of us who are on the grassroots, who are talking to people who have to worry about tonight there's no place to stay,
Mm.
and that person did nothing wrong. Okay, that person did nothing wrong, and what is wrong, and I can get into that whole argument, right, because we're so judgmental until it happens to you. Mental health, the level of people who've been left without care is insane. 30% of the people that I used to say, I am fighting right now for people just to get their meds covered,
Mm.
because there was a time where the Husky dropped them, they picked them up again, and all of this was happening. And you're talking about, I have people who have, right now, I have someone who has severe MS. They can't go out without their medication. Oh, somebody screwed up.
Yeah.
I got someone who was going to be incarcerated because there was a glitch in the system
Mm.
and they done nothing wrong. Um, what can we, I mean, I know that I have 100 examples that you probably heard already from really passionate activists like myself. But being a Latina woman, it's been a long time that I do not see our voices echoing one another.
Mm.
I've been accused of liking white women too much.
Mm.
Okay. And I'll be the first one to tell you, white women have given me great opportunities.
Mm.
I'm of the tribe of Ann Stanback, a
Mm.
woman who said, you got wings. And I was like, wings? What are wings? How do you spell that? What do you mean? Leave me alone. I like this little office, this little job right here. And she's like, you gotta go. I'm like, nope, not going over there. And so I have all of these beautiful experiences with white women. I also have beautiful experience with African American women and women of color. But it just seems like Latina women, we are very distrusting at
Mm.
this point. We're like, I don't know what day it is with you guys. You come and knock on our doors. You come and ask for the $20, $5, the $10, $100, the
Mhm.
$20 when it's election time. Where are we? 365. Where are
Yes.
we 2 years? Where are we 4 years? I was looking at information translated that I thought, okay, AI did this because there is no way
Oh.
that anybody would come up with this word. It's just like, what the hell is that? Um, how do you see the Latino community being involved in your campaign? What can we do to make sure that you hear our voices? I mean, you've been around us for a long time. You haven't skipped a good invitation, you know. But what can we do to ensure that we knock on your door and go, Jillian, we really want you to hear this piece of it, and how can we help to make that happen?
That's what would be wonderful is folks to reach out. And so the email is info@voteforjillian.com. You can also find me on many social media platforms. But if you can extend an invitation to an event where I'm not the centerpiece, I don't need to be the centerpiece, but where I come and get to listen from and learn from folks and get to see the community and learn from the community, that would be incredibly helpful. And I think that's a way we get to know each other where it doesn't feel transactional because it's not. And that trust needs to be built. It would be ridiculous based on everything that has happened and where we are right now for folks to be like, oh, okay, I'll send you $10. I believe you. We need to build that.
Right, right. Well, I think that's happening anyway right now. I mean, I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's of people who know how to, they have a charisma that's, sellable to the devil. So that happens all the time. I've seen it all the time. And then when I ask people, what do they stand for? So what are the pillars that you want to run for Congress? I mean, what are the things you want people to know? And I know this is a short show, and hopefully you'll want to come back and talk to us some more. Um, what are the pillars for you?
So the pillars are, again, life should not be this hard for folks. People are working and the cost of living is out of control. And so I want to address the incredible economic inequality. And so looking at CEO to worker pay gaps, making sure people have a living wage, and making sure people have the work supports they need, like childcare and paid leave. My second big pillar is healthcare.
Amen.
Healthcare costs are ridiculous. We need to take profit out of healthcare. The model doesn't work when there's profit in there. We just need to ensure that people can access the care that they need. And you'll hear people push back and say, well, I don't think government could run healthcare. Government runs my healthcare, and I have great healthcare through the state. So I think we can make it work for everybody else. And then the final one is public education, pre K to college. We have not made a significant investment in public education in this country in far too long. And it's the great equalizer, and we need to pay our teachers. We need more paraprofessionals, and we
Bring
need,
them back.
yes, we need to bring them back. And we need school days to reflect people's actual lives. And so those are my three pillars because I think those are issues that impact people day in and day out.
Jillian, I really believe you got a lot to bring to the table. But I wanna say this to you, and I want to say this to everybody who will watch us. The shiny object syndrome is what has us where we are today. This myth that we have that that person was a business owner, they understand business. If you went into bankruptcy 3 times, I don't know where you would be. I don't know, selling, I don't know what. This is not available to everybody. You're not smart because you're part of the 1%. You're getting, I had this conversation with my husband, who I find to be a very, very intelligent man. And he says, we do bailouts all the time just for the rich. So what seems to be the problem? And I thought, God, another conversation I need to pay attention to, because it is true. Businesses that are falling apart for the rich can get a bailout from us. But my bodega or my entrepreneurship, I'm hanging and I don't qualify for anything.
Yep.
I don't qualify for anything.
With SNAP, obviously, SNAP has been a hot topic
Mhm.
for obvious reasons. Walmart, for example, is one of the largest employers of folks who use SNAP because they don't pay their workers enough to be able to afford food. Um, and then Walmart also makes a ton of money off of SNAP.
Hmm.
So that, to your husband's point, to your point, like, why don't we focus on that instead of blaming the very people who need to use SNAP because an employer like Walmart doesn't pay them? Like, that's the issue.
And that and I think I hope that you will have an opportunity, and this space is open for you, Jillian,
Thank you.
to educate us on those things. When I hear people talk about public assistance, I'm like, you don't understand what the intention of public assistance was. Who was it designed for?
Mhm.
Who was it dropped in the middle for? And poverty is a business. I tell people that all the time. Poverty is a business. And if people weren't poor, you know how many people will lose their jobs,
Yep.
opportunities, colleges, all kinds of stuff, because we want to blame those that we serve, but we can't afford for them to go away.
Yes.
So we need to keep them poor.
Mhm.
And in the state of Connecticut, the cost of living is high.
Very.
It is high.
Yeah.
I have people in a 2-bedroom apartment in the city of Hartford, $1,500, okay, flat. No backyard, none of that. That's more than my mortgage.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Add to that credit background checks and whatever. When I'm sorry, who's running the country? You guys don't want background checks, and you don't want people who are, non-criminals.
Mhm.
So I don't understand. So how do we get people like you and others to talk about what those systems really have to offer? Because I think when people are voting, they're voting they are voting against themselves. Those people, not me,
Mhm.
right? I have a brain injury and I use this a lot. Okay. Taking care of a brain injury, taking care of yourself, being diagnosed as disabled, things you can use, things you can't use, things you can eat, things you can't eat, all of those things. If I don't have insurance,
Yeah.
due to our income, I don't qualify for anything.
Yep.
Nada. Zero. I have someone who's working full time right now. You know how much she gets in food stamps? $12 for a family of 3. So people need to understand how that system is. It's not that they're signing off checks and
No.
free money,
No.
because why the hell would you and I go to work if there's free money somewhere, right?
Yes.
We would be doing, the artsy stuff or something, traveling around the world as,
Yep.
enjoying our kids and grandkids. So I would love to see politicians talk about, and this probably is an invitation to you. You're like, damn it. Um, to talk about really what those systems do and how do they work. This
Yep.
whole thing of they're going to revise people's application, they do that already.
Yep.
And sometimes they forget to revise it. And guess what happens? They cut their benefits
Yes.
and they screwed up.
Yes.
And the person doesn't have food.
Yep.
And this country cannot work. I mean, if you took out public assistance per se, is the economy. Look
Yep.
at the economy. So I'd love to hear politicians really come out and say, you want to complain about this? Okay. You want it gone? This is what's going to cost for it to be gone.
Yep.
Is the whole Bill Clinton welfare to work? Remember when that took place? And
Mhm.
people are like, oh my God. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, opportunity to gain some education, opportunity to have my kids being taken care of and be supported while I do that. Oh my God, impossible. Where are we now? So It's okay. It's okay to not know, and I love when you say that. Jillian, how we know that there are so many politicians right now who are going to want to run for that seat. They're the ones we know and the ones who are having backroom discussions. And I know some of those too. But you are the only woman who is running on a ticket of humanity,
Mhm.
proven record. You have been there with women when we don't have the makeup on and it's 20 degrees and we don't know what the hell's going to happen and we've cried together. Um, I really hope that you come back to this house and you keep informing us, educating us, and challenging us so that way we can be a better a better community. And I am just so tired of hearing people say the snippets that they expect to hear from politicians. And guess what, Jillian, you haven't said one of them.
Thank you. And I would love that opportunity. So I think, again, the more we can learn from one another, the better we can make this.
So if people want to find you, I will tomorrow put some stuff
Great.
over where they can find you. Listen, you got to make, as a community member, I say this to everybody, make your own decisions, but make sure that they're your decisions,
Mm.
that they're not manufactured by someone else, that you're not so intimidated by someone else, that it's your cousin, it's your uncle, is your community of faith, is this, is that. When you go in that booth, make sure you are voting for you and for your loved ones. Remember that. You don't even have to share that with anybody else, but remember that you're voting for what really matters to you. Politicians cannot save everybody. That's not something that they can do either. But they can become a guide for us to say, hey, we got somebody up there that's going to
Mhm.
make sure they come over here and they ask us the questions, or we can call. The minute you can't reach your politician, that person is no longer your politician.
They're no longer representing you.
They're no longer representing you. And I'm telling you, Jillian, I past 2 or 3 events, I was disgusted with the behavior that I was watching, and I was going, no, 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 no. We have lost so many activists because we're tired. We're
Hmm.
very tired.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not willing to quit just yet. Talk to me tomorrow.
Well, we each take our little break and then we tag team in. So,
Talk to me tomorrow.
yeah,
Share with people what you would like them to know. You got about 7 or 8 minutes. Tell us what
sure.
you want to know about Jillian.
Well, and I think some of the logistics are helpful. So this is going to be a Democratic primary election, and it'll be in August of 2026. So that's important for folks to know because sometimes there aren't primaries and you don't know that that it's going to take place in 2026. Other things, I'm not originally from Connecticut, came to the state in 2000 to attend the University of Connecticut. Describe it as I found West Hartford. I liked the sidewalks quite a bit.
You too. I do too.
I have two children who are now 16 and 13, which is wild. I know, I know. My son's a junior in high school and my daughter's in eighth grade. And so
God bless them.
I've been saying maybe, raising teens makes me prepared for Congress. But they're awesome and keep me busy. And yeah, my passion is just truly using public policy to improve conditions. And I want to hear from people. That's what informs me and informs the work. And so I love when you're saying, like, ooh, if an elected official isn't connecting with you anymore, they really should be done.
Agreed.
And I just feel like we're at this point in our country's history, and we're making light of it, but it's true. Like folks are just so worn down. And I don't know why we would continue to elect the very same people or people who are beholden to the same structure and systems and expect it to be different. And that's both Democrat and Republican. We need to elect different people who believe in a different way of leading and that government is there for you. We pay in to the government, and the government should make life better for us. And it can. We just need to elect people who will move us in that direction.
I would love to have more conversations with you, Jillian.
Great.
You know that you know where to find me,
Wonderful.
and we have a mutual friend in common, which is Dr. Sarah Raskin. She's gonna be like, "Why does she have to say doctor?" I'm like, "Girl, because you earned it. You
Yes.
know,
Yes,
you
you did.
earned it." Um, but I really, really hope that people look at the pain that we're suffering from all walks of life, and what we don't want our communities to continue to have to fear. And sometimes we have to tell our friends, I love you, but I need someone else to sit in that seat.
Hmm.
Those are difficult conversations to have. And I know that I'm the minority of the minority, and I get in trouble for that all the time. But you know what? My grandmother used to say, if you're not in the middle of the fire, you're not cooking anything.
Hmm.
So in my belief, God bless you, your children, and thank them ahead of time. I mean, because they've already allowed us to share you
Hmm.
in politics, and I know that can't be easy.
Thank you.
Because at home, your mama,
Yep.
right? And
Yes, I am.
so it doesn't matter what job you are, you're mama. And so thank you for allowing us to share your mama. Thank you for allowing mama to fight for us.
Hmm.
This is your space, Jillian. Anytime you want to come and talk to us. Ahora ven la cara de Jillian. Ya saben quién es. La van a ver en la comunidad. You'll see her in the community. That's not new. She's always been in the community. Pero de verdad pensemos, utilicemos esta cabecita. Let's use our heads and open our hearts to when is change necessary, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. But the people who really love you will always understand the change is needed. Jillian, do you have anything else you want to share with us?
Thank you so much for all you do. So good to see you, and thank you for this opportunity. And I would love to come back.
That's wonderful. For all of you, I want to share. We are here every Tuesday night at 7:00. Thanks to Dayquil. It's going tonight. I was telling Jillian that my granddaughter loves to share germs. But I thought that didn't happen with grandchildren. I thought I was done with that. But I do want to dedicate this particular show to a little girl who's my little niece. And soon I'll post a video, and her name is Emma. And Emma created a video for me of why people should subscribe to my channel. And I think it's the most touching thing. When children are touched by what you do as an adult, then you know that you're doing something. So make sure they touched for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. God bless you guys. I will see you next Tuesday and on social media as we get crazier. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.